of the show, the choices of the voices, where we ask you the question, you give us the answer, and we talk about it right here on the Sports Bros Podcast. And if everything's working right, because you know how technology and production can be sometimes, you could be able to see your stuff right here on the screen, right here on the screen, right here on Facebook Live. With that being said, Scotty D, what's on Tickety Tap for this week, sir?
We were talking last week, and you inspired the question, and I forget what the hell we were talking about. It was about somebody collapsed in a sport last week.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the
Epic
hockey game.
collapses.
Yeah, with two and a
St.
half
Louis.
minutes left, St. Louis blew a 2-goal lead, and we're eliminated altogether. So it brought to mind some epic meltdowns, not really meltdowns, but collapses. And in my picture, I depicted Greg Norman. He was laying on the ground at the Masters when he blew the lead, and I think it was 96 Masters, and lost. I think it was like a 5-stroke lead on the final day, and then Bartman in the curse, and then I had a picture of Frank Reich, and the big comeback they had against the Oilers. I think it was like a 31-3 lead or something at one point, something crazy like that. So that was the vein we were looking for. So we had some good answers, Eddie. What did the people say about this one?
All right, let's go. Christian Vandenberg, he says, I can't stand the Pats. However, Super Bowl 51 comes to mind.
Woo-wee!
It sure does.
The Falcons are still reeling from that one.
They'll never be the same again. All right, moving right along, we got Sean Connors. Sean Connors says, maybe not the worst, but one of the strangest to watch. And he is a picture of...
That is Jean Vandevelde.
Oh, yeah.
And this is one of the biggest, craziest collapses ever in golf. And this is at the British Open when Vandevelde had a 3... On the final hole, if he double bogeys, he wins. So all he has to do is double bogey. For some reason, he pulled his driver out of the bag, shanked it. Then he hit the ball off the grandstand and into the water. And he rolled his pant. There's a picture of it. He had his pant legs. He was going to actually try to play that out of the water. He didn't. Instead, he took a drop. Then he hit it into the bunker. And he ended up with a 7. All he had to do was make a 6 to win the big tournament. He got a 7. And then he lost in the three-way playoff to Paul Lawrie. That was one of the biggest ones ever. We were talking about that last week, that one popped into my head. And I think somebody else may have mentioned that one as well. There's some other ones, Eddie. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mike McCambley, he said the same thing. John Vandevelde at the British Open. All right.
Yeah.
John Kern, we got a lot of new names here. Shout out to all y'all for joining us this week. John Kern, he says the series between the Yankees and the Red Sox in the 2004 Major League Baseball playoffs. Ooh.
Yanks up 3-0. No one had ever been up 3-0 and lost before. And this was coming off the year before where the Red Sox blew their big lead, I think a 3-run lead in the 7th inning. And then Aaron Boone hit the Tim Wakefield ball over the left field wall, and the Yankees went to the World Series. So the Sox repaid them. Yanks up 3-0. And I believe leading in game 4 and unable to ever finish the deal. Lost 4 straight.
Yeah.
That one sticks in my craw.
Yeah.
As you can imagine.
B-Live, were we at the bar watching this one at Buffalo Wild Wings?
The
Yankees and the Red Sox back in 04. It might have been 03.
Trying to think, because I don't remember specifically where I was at, but I do remember the amount of it was one of the craziest things we've ever seen, simply put, because it's never happened before. Nobody comes back from 3-0 deficit, especially not the Red Sox over the Yankees. That is.
And if I'm not mistaken, game 6 and 7 were in New York.
Yeah, it was,
I think,
craziness, unheard of, and it still hasn't. I know this happened a couple times in hockey, but baseball, I don't think it's ever happened again.
No.
But yeah,
I don't think it has.
Very good answer.
All right. Tony Bogan, what's up, TB? How you doing, brother, man? He says 2014, the Western Conference playoffs between the Stanley Cup playoffs in the Western Conference. We got the Sharks versus the Kings. The Sharks blow a 3-0 lead to the Kings, who then go on to win the Stanley Cup. All right. In 2016, Northern Iowa blowing an 11-point lead to Texas A&M with 32 seconds left in the NCAA tournament and losing in double overtime. So Tony gives us one from the realm of college basketball and also hockey.
I think that Northern Iowa game, they were up 12 points with like less than a minute to go.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow allowed them to come back. Let me see, 44 seconds to go because I had it pulled up. They were up 69-57. That the game's over. 44 seconds, down 12.
Yeah, you're over with.
And they couldn't inbound the ball. So like that doesn't take any time off the clock. I think they had a couple 5-second violations and the bottom fell out. And next thing you know, being up by 12 and then having to go to overtime, the team's exhausted.
Yeah,
they have no more will to play. And Texas A&M just did what it needed to happen. And there it is.
Yeah. All right. Tony also gives us another one. He says Atlanta blowing an 8.5 game lead with 29 games left to the Cardinals in 2011, getting eliminated on the final day. Cardinals will go on to win the World Series. What you got to do that for, Tony? Huh? What you got to do that for?
That was unnecessary, but
but it's a collapse. It's a collapse. All right. Finally, Jacob Cohn, he says the Bills are certainly up there. But if we're talking about the greatest individual collapse, hands down, it's Greg Norman. The biggest team collapse, 28-3. The Falcons, and the series collapse would either go, and the series collapse would either be Golden State or the Indians, both in 2016. Yeah, they were both, that's right. They were both up 3-1 or 3-0, and then Cleveland came back, and then Golden State came back. So, Cleveland came back, and then Chicago came back. So, yeah, that's it. All right. So, shout out to Christian, Sean, Mike, John, TB, Tony Bogan, and Jacob for their participation in this week's Choices of the Voices. Scotty D, who you got?
Some good ones that were on my mind were already mentioned. Also wanted to mention 2010. The Boston Bruins were up 3-0 on the Flyers, and the Flyers won the next 4 games, including coming back from 3-0 in Game 7. But one I wanted to mention, something I just rewatched recently. It's only a 2-run lead, but the fact that the Boston Red Sox in 1986 were 1 strike away from winning the World Series,
that's right,
and over the Mets, and Gary Carter gets a base hit. Kevin Mitchell gets a base hit. Ray Knight gets a base hit. They change pitchers. Bob Stanley comes in, throws a wild pitch. And then you remember the Mookie Wilson dribbler that Bill Buckner had go between his legs. And the Mets came all the way back to win that one. And then in such an improbable fashion, and then won Game 7, also a come from behind win. Again, that's not a big collapse when you think of it in terms of it was only a 5-3 lead, and which the Red Sox scored 10 in the 10th inning, 2 runs to take that lead. But the fact that they were 1 strike away and hadn't won the World Series since whatever it was, 1917, 1918, whatever it was, they needed 1 more pitch and couldn't get it, and the Mets end up winning the whole thing. So that was one on my mind. B-Live, who you got?
Well, I'm gonna do a solid. Because we pick on the Falcons a lot, especially regarding collapses and all the stuff. 28-3, happy March 28th, and all the things that we do, and deservedly so. But I'm gonna go in the archives for this one because this was as a wee little kid. I was 10 years old when this happened. Back in 1993, the AFC wildcard game between the Houston Oilers and the Buffalo Bills, where in the beginning of the third quarter, Frank Wright throws an interception. Bills quarterback Frank Wright, because Jim Kelly was injured. Frank Wright throws a pick 6, and the Houston Oilers were up 35-3.
35. Okay. I said 31-3, 35-3.
It was 35-3 in the beginning of the third quarter. And the reason why I bring up that game is because they lost 41-38. Like they were up 35-3.
They actually had to come back themselves and kick a field goal it went into overtime, right?
Oh yeah, because
the Bills would come all the way back and take the lead.
They kicked the field goal to tie it 38-38, and then the Bills won in overtime 41-38. But what you can't make that up. Like that's forever ingrained in Houston Oilers, Tennessee Titans history. That
backup quarterback, no less.
Yeah.
Who, if I'm not mistaken, had one of those in college as well. Didn't he lead Maryland to the big comeback against Miami?
Yes, he did. Yep. Frank Wright has one under his belt. So,
and he's a terrible coach. All right, cool.
He stinks.
He's a bomb. All right.
He's a bomb. I'll say it. He's a bomb. B-U-N. A bomb. All right. Mm-hmm. With that being said, fellas, Be Live, I'm going to take the route of you. It's easy to pick low-hanging fruit. It's real easy to pick at the Falcons' epic collapse. And I'm smiling just thinking about it. But one epic collapse goes to the 2020 Pittsburgh Steelers, all right? So the Steelers, they start off, winning 10. They win 10 straight games, and a few of those games were pretty close. For example, when they played the Broncos 21-26, and then they played the Texans and they won 21-28, and they won by the Tennessee Titans 27-24. Now let's go to December 2nd, week 12, where they play the Ravens and they barely win 19-14. All right, they improves their record to 11-0 and at home. Then the following week, guess what they do? They lay an egg against the then Washington. What's the Washington franchise football team name?
The Redskins, no-name football team, Commander Piglets.
Yep. So they lose to them 23-17. Then they turn right around the following week later and lose to Buffalo 26-15. And guess what? They lose a division game to the Bengals in week 15, 27-17. But they get a win against the Colts. But that don't matter because guess what? They lose to the Cleveland Browns in the season finale. And lo and behold, guess what they do in the playoffs? They lose again to the Cleveland Browns, to Baker. 48-37. I think Ben Roethlisberger throws for damn near 500 yards in a losing effort. He was on the side. He was on the sidelines looking real sad. So that's one of the more bigger long-term in-season collapses in all of sports history. Wow.
I forgot to mention, because this is a recent one, this year, where the Atlanta Braves play the Pittsburgh Pirates and lose a series to the Pirates. How do you lose a series to the Pirates? How?
Shelty Ball's over. It's Donnie Ball now. Don Kelly.
I was watching. I was like, really? The Pirates? How are we? Yeah, we struggling. We struggle. I just come on. I need my Acuna. We need you, brother. We need you.
Scotty, who was the manager when you guys went to the playoffs back in 2013? Was it Clint Hurdle?
It was. Yep. And he got fired the day before the last game of the season in 2019. He got the game 161 and got fired.
That's about worse the coaches getting fired with 3 games left in the middle of in the NBA. All right, with that being said, that does it for the choice of the voices. Scotty D, what we got on tap for next week?
Okay, I'm once again going to change this on the fly, but when I said the word meltdown, it actually kind of triggered meltdowns, like behavioral things that happen on field or anything Antonio Brown related.
Oh, Lord.
Where athletes have lost their minds or meltdown either in the locker room, on the playing field, golf course, basketball court, whatever. We're looking for player meltdowns, and it could be any sport, college, pro. We'll talk about that next week, Eddie. Cool. That'll give us something to talk about.
Who Ryan Leaf? I said knock it off.
Yeah, that's stuff like that. Yes, we're looking for behavioral meltdowns, playoffs, that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
We didn't win. Do we deserve
Diddly
to win?
poo.
No, we didn't win. Diddly poo. I was like that. Best you could think of.
We are. We are. who they thought, and we let him off the hook.
I was like, wow. I think that same game, Derek
Man,
Anderson. Yeah.
I'm 40. Oh my God. Yeah, we gonna have fun.
Oh, this is gonna be great. I think Derek Anderson had his meltdown that same night. Dennis Green had a meltdown too. I don't know. It was epic. It was classic, and I do remember. All right, Be Live. You know what that means? Don't just time to grab the pepper grinder. Coming up next, Around the Pepper. Stick stay. Don't you dare go away. Sports Bros Podcast coming right back at you. Cue the graphics.
Okay, boys, let's bring it home with a round of pepper.
Rand. That being said, 3, 2, 1. All right, y'all heard the woman. It's time for us to go home and get what I call the hell up out here. But before we go, Around the Pepper, you know how we do it, baby. 3 topics, rapid fire style, kind of sort of, not really here to engage, enlighten, educate, and entertain. The 4 E's in no particular order. Spoiler alert, because we usually drop the podcast on Tuesday. I won't be doing This Day in History for May 12th. It'll be May the 13th. With that being said, I'll go first, all right? On this day in history, back in 1958, Stan, the man Musial, is the 8th player to get 3,000 hits. Fellas, just imagine trying to hit a ball coming at you, sometimes 75, 85, 90 miles, or if you're Aroldis Chapman, who's like, what, almost 40, still throwing at 103 miles an hour. Just imagine trying to hit that 3,000 times. Just imagine. You got to have skill. It's definitely a skill. Over to you, Scotty D.
So I'm looking at an ESPN headline that's showing Chris Berman will remain at ESPN through his 50th anniversary with the company.
Wow.
Which is going to be in 2029. ESPN launched in September of 1979. Berman going wire to wire. He'll cover the Super Bowl in 2027. So ESPN is older than you guys, but younger than me. But shout out to Chris Berman, who remains legendary. B-Lav, over to you.
Oh, man, the absolute legend. I read that as well. I was like, the myth, the legend, Chris Berman, and going to be going strong throughout 2029. Mm-hmm. Speaking of broadcasting, sports, et cetera, I know it's been with great contention that NBA is leaving TNT and moving back to NBC, and NBC's been heavily marketing that move. We get a John Tesh round ball rock freaking return. But here's something that I didn't even think about that we sorely missed in basketball that's coming back. We haven't had starting lineup introductions.
We haven't.
Well, it's coming back. Come next season, we will have starting lineup introductions again to be aired on NBC. And so
really, they don't show that stuff anymore?
And I had to think about when I saw this article, like, you know what? They do not air that. We get a bunch of pundits talking, tip off.
Yeah, because I guess they got to try to cram as much commercial time in, and
man, but now I'm absolutely here for it, because that is something that this generation doesn't have. Standing 6'6" from North Carolina.
Yeah, the Bulls definitely was the trend. Yeah, that was the iconic entrances.
Oh my God! Yeah, we're getting that back.
That's cool.
Very cool. And speaking of Michael Jordan's joining NBA on NBC.
What?
Yeah. Michael Jordan is going to be what did it say? Special contributor to NBC's coverage of the NBA in the fall.
Probably means he'll be sitting on his couch on a Zoom call, smoking a cigar, trash talking,
drinking cognac, talking trash.
Yeah,
I'm here for it. Eddie Cool, the ball.
Michael, what do you think about LeBron James? I don't. He ain't me. Next question.
Yeah.
That's what's going to be. All right. All right, fellas. Also, on this day in history, Scotty D, you'll love this one. In 1989, Minnesota Twins legend Kirby Puckett becomes the 35th player to hit four doubles in a game. I can't believe he's gone. But Kirby Puckett, man, thank you for the years of just great baseball, man, and being a great person overall. Over to you, Scotty D.
Why is it that whenever you shoot 3-pointers, you use it? Sarah, that was one of my pep points. Go ahead, Be Live. Over to you.
Wow.
No.
I couldn't wait to pull the trigger on that one. So.
You just do, hey, I
thought it'd be a good way to start the show today.
That was good.
That was a good one.
Throwing up gang signs.
Yeah.
But yeah, second pepper point. Well, just recently they announced all the teams that made it into the NCAA's women's softball tournament. You would think that it's just normal, you know, you get excited, you get teams that are excited that they made it, and the teams that won their
I know what you're talking about. I saw this last night. Well, go ahead and tell them.
Well, for those that don't know, Oklahoma has pretty much dominated women's softball over the course of the past few years. And when one particular team found out that they were facing Oklahoma on the air, they were like, oh, ooh, yeah. They were not happy at all. The Boston University Terriers were not happy that they got matched up against Oklahoma in the first. Yeah. Oklahoma has been that damn good to the point where even though teams are normally excited to make the tournament, they're not.
Don't put us on TV. Don't put us on TV.
Yeah. They were, ooh. Yeah. Eddie Cool. The ball.
It's just the look on their face. It was like, Oklahoma's like, yay, Oklahoma, we made it. And they'll be playing against Boston University. The girl had a choke. You see one girl just go, Yeah, just I mean, hey man, stranger things have happened. So shout out to the Lady Terriers. Fight and bite somebody on. Do something. Do something. Right?
At least pinch them.
Pinch them. Do something. Do something. All right. On this, finally, my third and final pepper point, keeping it friendly to the city of Cleveland, the land that I love. In 1994, the Cleveland Indians began an 18-game home winning streak at the newly opened Jacobs Field. Yep, the Jake, which is now known as Progressive Field, but still affectionately known as the Jake. And people still call the Guardians the Indians. Do what you want, but it is what it is. Over to you, Scotty D.
That'll probably never go away. Well,
never.
After a lackluster performance on Saturday night, Josie Aldo, MMA UFC legend, announced his retirement. But speaking of lackluster performances, the week before, Canelo Alvarez won a fight with William Skull that I did not see, but turns out was supposedly one of the most boring fights ever that ever took place inside the squared circle, which now means the attention shifts to the big fight in September, Canelo against Terrence Crawford. And fans are now thinking Canelo looks slow and lumbering and old, even though he's only 34 years old, and that Terrence Crawford has the decided advantage, who is already considered pound for pound best fighter in the world today. So gives us something to look forward to. We'll see if Canelo can shake this one off, get in shape. But September 12th is the next time I'm looking forward to a boxing match, Canelo and Terrence Crawford. Be Live, take us home.
Oh, man, my third and final pepper point. Here's the thing. I feel like I will be disappointing you guys and our viewers. And
we're used to that. Don't worry about it. Go ahead, buddy.
This is going to be disappointing. So it's because it's not as groundbreaking, it's not as shock and awe as it is. But it's simple. The NFL has released the very first game of the regular season.
Ooh.
Thursday, September 4th, 8:20 p.m. on NBC and Peacock. The Dallas Cowboys versus the Philadelphia Eagles, the reigning, defending Super Bowl champion.
Boy, do I feel bad for them.
They raised the banner in front of their most heated rivals in the Dallas Cowboys. Crash out bros, Jalen Hurts, tush push, all
Brian
the things.
Schottenheimer debut. Woo, Dak is back. Man, I wish it was tomorrow.
I'm here for it because you know where our passion lies. I'm gonna say I'm a college football guy, but we talk more about NFL than we do anything else, and for a very good reason. And I'm here for it. Week 1, Cowboys, Eagles. Let's see how this year starts. Yes,
we know how it's going to start. We know the Cowboys can't go undefeated without winning that first one in week 1. So there you go.
Oh, here we go. The predictions already out there. The Cowboys 17-0. Miami Dolphins, and you might have to wait to pop the champagne because the Cowboys are coming to wreck shop, especially with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. Jaden Blue behind the backfield.
Dak and
Phil
Dak.
Maffa.
And Bronny.
Wow.
Oh, we don't have Bronny. No, that's
no.
Wrong team. Wrong team.
Yeah, wrong team. That's next year. All right, with that being said, that does it for another episode of Sports Podcast. Remember, if you're loving the show, do us a quick favor, hit that follow button, give us a like, make sure you subscribe, and never miss an episode, whether you're tuning in on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube, or right here on Facebook Live. Your support helps us bring the heat each and every week. Also, follow us on all over social media. Just click the link in the chat box or the description box to keep up with the Sports Bros Podcast. And in closing, do something nice for yourself, and if you can, do something nice for someone else. They're greatly appreciated now more than ever. Be a blessing, not a burden. Real quick, if you see some kids selling lemonade, just go ahead and give them the money. All right? Because that's what you do. You do something nice for kids, all right? With that being said, be a blessing, not a burden. This is the Sports Bros Podcast. Thank you for watching and listening. Be live. Take us home.
Yes, sir.
Nobody told me to be days like these. Quite peculiar, mama.
Yeah. And as always, thank you for watching and listening to the Sports Bros Podcast. We gone. Bye.
Recording stopped.
Facebook Live, we holler at y'all next week. Thanks for watching. Share, rate, review, like, subscribe. And if you're chatting in the chat box, leave us a little something. We'll holler at you later.